Join our family of creators. Your support means the world to us. Subscribe now to the Content Creator channel. Your support keeps us motivated and helps us bring you fresh, exciting content every week. Hit that subscribe button and be part of our journey. Let's start with a number so staggering it feels like a typo. On any given night in the United States, over 650,000 people are experiencing homelessness. That's right, 650,000. That's more than the entire population of cities like Baltimore, Milwaukee. These aren't just statistics, they are human beings. Veterans who served their country, children trying to do their homework in a car, elderly citizens who lost their homes after a lifetime of work. It's a national crisis hiding in plain sight, a quiet catastrophe unfolding on our own streets. This isn't some far-off problem happening somewhere else, it is happening here. The line between having a roof over your head and not having one is terrifyingly thin for millions of Americans. A single medical emergency, a sudden job loss, an unexpected rent hike. We like to think of America as the land of opportunity, but for a growing number of people it's becoming a land of impossible choices. The choice, paying for medicine or paying the rent. The choice, buying groceries or keeping the lights on. This is the precarious reality that many face, a tightrope walk without a safety net. And here is where it gets truly concerning. Instead of looking for solutions, there are plans afoot that could push hundreds of thousands more over the edge. We are talking about deep, deliberate cuts to one of the most critical programs keeping vulnerable families housed. A program that, for many, is the only thing standing between them and the street. Alright, so what exactly is this Section 8 thing you hear politicians talking about? It sounds like a classified government document or maybe a secret level in a video game. But it's not. It's arguably one of the most important federal programs for fighting poverty and homelessness in America. The official name is the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Think of it as a coupon, but instead of getting you 50 cents off a can of soup, it helps a low-income family afford a decent, safe place to live. It's a simple, yet powerful idea. Here's how it works. The program doesn't put people into giant, bleak government housing projects like you might imagine. Instead, it gives a voucher directly to a family. That family can then go find their own apartment, townhouse, or single-family home in the private market. The landlord gets a reliable tenant, and the family gets to choose where they live, just like anyone else. The family typically pays about 30% of their income towards rent, and the voucher covers the rest, up to a certain limit. This gives people choice, dignity, and a chance to live in better neighborhoods with better schools and job opportunities. So who uses Section 8? The answer might surprise you. This isn't a program for the lazy or unwilling to work. It's not just a housing program, it's a people program. Now that we know how vital Section 8 is, let's get to the horrifying part. The Trump administration has unveiled its proposed budget for 2025, and it takes a giant axe to housing assistance. This isn't just trimming around the edges or a small, sensible cut. We are talking about a proposed reduction of billions of dollars from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the very agency that runs the Section 8 program. Specifically, the plan calls for slashing the budget for tenant-based rental assistance by a staggering amount, which would directly gut the voucher program. Let's be crystal clear about what this means. These cuts are not abstract numbers on a spreadsheet in Washington, D.C. They translate directly into fewer vouchers being available. The administration argues these are necessary measures for fiscal responsibility, a way to curb federal spending. They talk about belt-tightening and efficiency, but what they don't mention is that the belt being tightened is the one holding up the last shred of security for millions of low-income Americans. It's not about efficiency, it's about elimination. The proposed cuts are multifaceted and brutal. First, the budget would not provide enough funding to renew all existing vouchers in use. That means families who have been relying on this assistance for years could suddenly find it gone. This proposal would slam the door shut for every single person on that list. So, who is in the direct line of fire if these cuts go through? Let's paint a very clear picture. The primary victims will be the most vulnerable people in our society. According to HUD's own data, nearly half of the households that rely on Section 8 are headed by an elderly person or a person with a disability. These are people on fixed incomes, a small social security check or disability payment, that have not kept pace with the skyrocketing cost of rent. For them, a voucher isn't just helpful, it's the only thing that makes renting a small apartment possible. Taking that away is, in essence, an eviction notice for your grandmother. Then there are the children. Over 2 million children live in households that are kept stable because of a Section 8 voucher. These cuts would throw those families into chaos. Research has shown time and time again that housing instability is devastating for a child's development. It leads to poor health, emotional distress, and falling behind in school. Let's not forget the working poor. A huge percentage of Section 8 recipients are in families with at least one person working, often in low-wage jobs that are the backbone of our economy. These are the cashiers, the home health aides, the janitors, and the daycare workers. And finally, let's talk about veterans. This isn't about numbers, it's about people, real people. To understand what's truly at stake, you need to hear from the people on the ground. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mother of 2 young children in a mid-sized American city. Sarah works as a certified nursing assistant at a local nursing home. It's a physically and emotionally demanding job. She works the night shift so she can be there to get her kids ready for school in the morning. Despite working over 40 hours a week, her paycheck barely covers essentials: groceries, utilities, childcare. The rent for a safe 2-bedroom apartment in her city is simply out of reach. For 2 years, staying with relatives and living in a cramped, unsafe motel room. After nearly 5 years on a waiting list, Sarah finally received a Section 8 voucher. It was, in her words, like winning the lottery. For the first time, she could rent a modest but clean apartment in a neighborhood with a good elementary school and a park nearby. Her kids, age 7 and age 9, finally have their own beds. Her son, who has asthma, is breathing easier now that they're out of the moldy motel. Her daughter is excelling in school because she has a quiet place to do her homework. When you propose something as drastic as gutting the Section 8 program, you don't have to guess what will happen. You can just ask the experts, housing advocates, economists, social scientists screaming the same thing from the rooftops. This would be an unmitigated disaster. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities has analyzed the proposal and concluded it would be the single largest cut in the program's history. They estimate cuts would eventually eliminate assistance for over 1 million households. The first and most obvious consequence: a massive, immediate spike in homelessness. Not a small increase. A flood of newly homeless families, seniors, people with disabilities pouring into already overwhelmed shelter systems. Diane Yentel of the National Low-Income Housing Coalition calls the proposal unconscionable. She warns communities would be unprepared, a humanitarian catastrophe in major cities. Economists warn of cascading economic harm. Evicting hundreds of thousands of families hurts everyone. Homelessness creates immense public costs. Emergency room visits skyrocket. The justice system becomes clogged. It's far more expensive to manage homelessness than to keep someone housed with a voucher. This isn't fiscal conservatism, it's fiscal insanity. Think of a stable community as a complex Jenga tower. Each block represents a different element: schools, jobs, public safety, housing. The proposed Section 8 cuts are not just removing one block. They are taking a sledgehammer to the entire foundation. The first domino to fall is, of course, a massive surge in homelessness. Shelters already at capacity would be forced to turn away desperate families. Tent cities, already a tragic feature of many American cities, would expand dramatically. This isn't fear-mongering. It's the logical, predictable outcome of pulling the rug out from under 1 million households. The next domino is public health and safety. With a larger homeless population, public health crises become more likely. Communicable diseases can spread more easily among people living in crowded, unsanitary conditions. The strain on emergency services would be immense, as first responders and hospitals become the de facto service providers for a population with complex health needs. At the same time, many criminologists will tell you that there is a strong link between extreme poverty, desperation, and crime. Then comes the economic domino. Landlords who currently rent to Section 8 tenants would suddenly face a wave of vacancies and unpaid rent. This could lead to financial distress for many small, independent landlords who rely on that steady income. In neighborhoods with a high concentration of voucher holders, this could depress property values and destabilize the local housing market. For every dollar we save by cutting Section 8, we will likely spend $3, $4, or even $5 cleaning up the mess it creates. So, here we are, faced with a proposal that threatens to unleash a tidal wave of suffering across the country. It can feel overwhelming, even hopeless. But it's not. A proposed budget is just that, a proposal. It is not law. The power to decide the federal budget ultimately lies with Congress. The fight is not over. There are concrete actions you can take right now. This is the moment to get loud. Contact your elected officials. Call your representative. Call your 2 senators. Send them an email. Post on their social media pages. Another powerful step is to support the organizations on the front lines of this fight. National Low-Income Housing Coalition. Center on budget and policy priorities. Local housing advocacy groups in your city. They conduct the research. They lobby Congress. They amplify the voices of people directly affected. Finally, we need to change the conversation. Talk to your friends, your families, and your neighbors about why this matters. Frame this not as a partisan issue but as a moral and economic one. The choice is